Hello and welcome to the channel. In this video, we will see how we can create a post API in a Spring Boot project. So in the last video, we had seen how we can create a GET API and we had done the entire dissection of that GET API so that it was very easy to understand and you would have understood the entire concept and working in depth. So let's discuss about the use case first. So we use the GET API when we want to get some information from the server. In case of GET APIs, we do not write something or we do not insert new data to the server or neither delete some data. We only get some data from the server, then we use the GET API. Now let's talk about the POST API. So when we want to insert some data or when we want to create some new information on the server, then we should create the POST API. Let's suppose we are building some user management system and whenever a new user is getting registered, so we need to create one API for that. So for that we will create the POST API, and whenever we will get the data for a certain user or multiple users, then we will create the GET API. So before moving forward, just wanted to share one important thing, that if you are new to the channel, then please subscribe the channel. It will be a huge support for me. And if you want to learn Spring Boot in depth, then you can check out the Spring Boot series, which you can find on the channel in the playlist section. Now let's start the creation of the POST API without any further delay. So we will open the IntelliJ IDE. So this was the basic Spring Boot project which we had created in this Spring Boot series itself. Then in the last video, we had created one GET API. This simple basic GET API we had created. Now let's create one POST API, and let's say the use case is we want to create a POST API to register a new user on our service. So for that, first we will create one class inside this controller directory. So we will name that as a user controller. So I'll create the user controller class, and inside this particular class we will create one method, and because that will be a public method. And let's say after inserting or registering that new user, we just want to return one string that the user is successfully registered. So I will, the return type would be the string, and let's keep the name of this method create new user. So I will say create new user. And now let's say we will do some certain steps to create the new user. Let's suppose some database is there and we want to save entire information which we have got for the user, and we want to save that user in the database. We will do all these things in detail, similar to a production ready project in this Spring Boot series itself. But for now I am just keeping this very simple, so that we will understand the POST API first, then we will create the actual project later on. You do not need to worry at all. You will get to learn everything which is used in the industry at the production level. But stay tuned to the channel and subscribe the channel for that. So I will just say all the required steps to create the new user, and let's say save that user. So all these things are done. Now at last we just want to return a simple string which will be the new user is created successfully. New user is created successfully. So let's say we want to return this thing. So our method is ready now. Now because this will be a POST API, so we will use one annotation similar to GET API which we had used in the previous video. So we will use the post mapping annotation here, so that this particular method will act as a POST API. And we need to give some certain path like we had seen in the previous video. When we hit any API, so at the very start there is some host. So for our case it will be localhost, because we will be launching this application on the local system. So localhost will be our host, then colon will be there and the port will be there on which this application will be deployed. So by default the service will be up on the 8080 port. So localhost colon 8080, and then the path will be there of this particular API. So let's say we want to keep the path as /user. So it will be, so whenever we will hit this particular API, so this will be like localhost colon 8080/user, and this particular API will be hit. So like I said previously, the post HTTP method is used whenever new entry or new entity is created on the server. So in this particular case, we want to create a new user. So all the user related information which we want to get in this particular API will be sent to this API as the request body. Let's suppose we are hitting this particular API from the postman, so there will be request to this particular API. So certain information about the user, like the first name, last name, email ID, so these information will be sent in the request itself. So we call that request body. Okay, and that information, all those information regarding the user which we have got in this particular API, we will use those information and we will save that information on the server or the database actually. So we will do that thing here. So because all these information will be sent as the request body, so we will have to accept that all the information about the user as a request body itself. So we will define one parameter here. So let's suppose we will create one class, and that is, let's suppose, the user data. In that user data, so let's say I keep the variable name at user data, and we will create one class with the name user data. So let's create that class first. So inside this particular directory controller, let's create one more directory to keep this clean. So I'll say this DTO, which is data transfer object. So I will create this package, and inside this DTO I will create one class which will be the user data, and this class will contain all the parameters or all the fields for the user which we want to accept in this particular API. So let's suppose we want to receive or accept the first name. So I will define that parameter here, the first name. Then let's suppose the last name, I will define that. Then let's say the email ID, and let's keep the contact number, and one more thing, the address. So let's keep the address as well. So these information we want whenever a user is getting registered on our service. And let's see, use this particular class user data here. Let's import this. Now whenever we will hit this API, so this all the data regarding the user will be sent as the request body. So we will have to accept this entire data as the request body. For that, Spring gives us one annotation which is request body. So we will use that annotation request body here, which is defined under this particular package. So because of this particular annotation, the entire request body which will be sent by the postman or whatever service is calling this particular API, that will be converted and passed to this particular object, and we can access that using this particular variable. So let's suppose we have that information in this variable. So let's print this as well. So for now I will use the system.out.println, but in this series of Spring Boot we'll see the logging as well, all the log4j, slf4j, so all those things we will see in this Spring Boot series. So stay tuned for that, I would say. So we got the request to register a new user which has following details. So I'm keeping this like this. Now I will say, I will print all these things which we will get in this user data. So I will say the first name, and I will print that. So user data. So to get the value for each field, so first we need to define the getters here. So let's define the getters here. So I will say getters, select all, and OK. Now I will go again to the user controller. here I will say dot get first name, and I will just copy this and oops, so I will copy this and I will paste this 5 times. Now let's say the next thing will be last name, and I will say last name, then the email ID, or rather I will keep this as like this, it will be more convenient. Okay, let's change this also. Okay, then contact number, and this will be the contact number, and this will be the address, get address. Oh, okay, so we have printed all these things so that we will know whatever we are getting in this particular request body. Now, so we are done with creating this particular API, except one little thing, which is like we have created this API, but how will Spring Boot know that this particular user controller class contains one API? So for that, we have one more annotation, which is REST controller. This one, the REST controller, which is defined in this org.springframework.web.bind.annotation. So we will import this. So this particular annotation has the responsibility so that the Spring Boot will come to know that this particular class has some APIs defined which needs to be enabled when the service will be up. So this has that responsibility. Now our everything is done. Let's launch this application. So I will go to this learn Spring Boot application, this particular class, and here we have this main method. So I will just click over here. Okay, so our application is up. Now I will go to the Postman and I will say local host. So because that is our host, then colon and 8080 will be our port. So if I show you in the logs as well, so as you can see, Tomcat started on port 8080. So we have used the embedded Tomcat here to launch our application, so which uses the 8080 port by default. And I will go to the Postman and I will now enter the path which we have given for that API, which was the /user. Now, like I said, we have defined all the fields in this particular user data. So all these fields we need to provide as the request body. So we will use this particular body option here, and because we will be providing that body option like in the format of JSON. So I will use this, I will click on this raw, and here you would see this text. So I will change this to JSON, and in the JSON format I will give the all the fields. So first name, so let's keep this first name Amit, then the last name, let's say Kumar, then let's say the email ID, let's say the amit.kumar@gmail.com, then the contact number, let's say I keep this like this, some random number, then the last thing is address, because all the things are in the string format, so that's why I am keeping this like this. So address, let's say the house number is 234, and let's say Vidyadhar Nagar, Jaipur. So I'm giving some random address here. Now our API is ready to be hit. And one more thing to notice here, the keys name of this particular JSON. So these should be same as what we have defined in this particular DTO. So as you can see, so we should keep in mind the casing as well. So these should be matched exactly whatever we have written here. So I will show by tweaking this as well. So first let's hit this particular API to see whether it is working or not. Okay, so I have selected actually get, so that's why we got this method not allowed, because this particular for this particular path and with this particular HTTP method, we do not have any API. We have this particular path, but the HTTP method is different, so that's why it is saying method not allowed. But if we use something like this, user, let's suppose new user, and if we send, so it will say not found because this particular path does not exist at all. But in case of this particular path does exist, but this particular method does not exist. So that's why when we are hitting this particular slash user API with this get HTTP method, and if we send, so it is saying method not allowed 405. So let's change this to post because we have used the post here. Let me show you that also. So as you can see, we have used the post mapping here. So if I hit send now, so congratulations, we got the expected response in the API. New user is created successfully, which we have returned as the string to this particular API. So our API is working fine. Let's do some tweaking and we'll dissect this particular API which we have created. So let's dissect this particular request body first. So if I just press command and click, I will go inside this and let's read the description first. So this annotation indicating a method parameter should be bound to the body of the web request. So as I told earlier, so whatever parameter we will use, so this parameter we are using user data, so this will be bound and this will behave like a request body to that particular HTTP request. So whatever request we will be send from the postman or from the browser or from any other, maybe terminal or some other service, so whatever request body will come, that will be passed into this particular parameter, and this is helping in that to parse that and to assign each value for each parameter. So it is doing that thing. Okay, so let's go down a little bit. So now you would see here boolean required default true. So if we do not use this required field here, so by default the value of this required is true. So it means if we do not send the body content in while hitting the API, it will fail because it is saying whether body content is required. So because the by default value is true, so body content is required by default, but if we do not send anything, then it should fail. So let's see. If on the postman we select this none, and if we send the request now, so as you can see, it is saying 400 bad request and it got failed. So it is saying bad request because the request is not valid, because it is expecting a request body but we are not sending that body. So that's why the request is invalid and it is failing with saying bad request. Okay, so now let's go to the code again, and if we want to change this to default as or required as false, so how can we do that? So for that we will have to use this bracket and I would say required is equal to false. So now this particular parameter, this user data request body is optional. So let's rerun this application. So our application is up now. So let's see what happens now. So let's use the body first. So if we send this particular body as expected, so we will get this particular response in the as the response of this API. And if we see in the logs, so we got this particular response which we have printed here. Now if we do not send anything here, let's see what happens. So it failed with 500 internal server error. Let's see in the code and let's see in the logs. It is saying null pointer exception on this particular line when we are getting this first name, because the first name is null, so that's why it is failing. So let's comment this out for a while, and instead of that let's log this and entire user data here. So I will say user data Let's save this and rerun the application. So our application is up. Now again I will go to the Postman and again I will hit. So we have got the expected response here. Now we will see the logs. So here you can see user data is null. Because of this, required false, because this has become now optional. So the null can also be passed as the request body here. So that's why we are getting user data as null in this particular variable. Okay, so let's remove this. Now let's go to this particular class user data and let's do some tweaking in this particular class. So currently we have seen that the first name or whatever parameter or whatever variable name we have kept here, we had to keep the same in the request body as well while hitting that API. So but let's suppose we do not want to do that and we want to keep some other variable here, and while hitting the API we want to use some other parameter. It may be because of the security reason, or maybe we want to keep some lengthy name here or some convention here, but we do not want to increase the size of the payload while communicating and while hitting and getting the response. So for that we can use one more annotation, which is JSON property. So we will use this JSON property, and which is provided in this particular package com.fasterxml.json.annotation. So we will use this particular annotation, and inside that we will use one property which is value, and we will give that value which we want to use while hitting the API. So let's say we want to keep this f name. So if we have changed this to f name, then we cannot give first name here while hitting the API. So let's see that in action. So first let's restart this application. I'll go to the Postman, and in the body itself, if I send this, if I keep this as it is, like the first name, if I keep, let's see what happens now. So our application is up. If I hit send now, it is successful. Let's see in the logs. Okay, so we had commented the logs. Let's uncomment those first. So if I uncomment these and let's comment this one. Now if I rerun the application, so our application is up again. Now if I hit send, it is successful. As you can see, the first name is null even though I am sending the first name, but the key of that first name is first name, not the f name, which we have updated in this user data class. So we have updated to f name. So now to make it work, we will have to send the f name here instead of first name. So we will keep this f name and we will hit send again. So let's see. So in the second one we got the expected log here. So we got the first name. Now you have seen that if we change this particular field, if I change this to last name, maybe something like this, or let's say I did some typo and I kept this as small n. Let's see for this. So if I hit send, so if I, as you can see, the last name is null because it is case sensitive. So we need to be very cautious when we are developing such API. The casing should not be different. Okay, great. So let's do some more tweaking here. So one more thing we can do, if we remove this particular last name entirely, what will happen then? So if I hit send again, so it will not fail, rather it will consider it as null. Or if we do not want to keep this null and we want to keep this empty, so in those cases currently it is null because the default value of string is null from here. But if we want to keep this, let's suppose empty string, so let's see what happens now. So if I rerun the application, okay, so if I hit again, so the last, we have not sent the last name. So as you can see, currently now the last name is empty string because we have changed the default value of last name which is empty string. Okay, great till now. So now let's go to the user controller and let's do tweaking here. So here we have defined the path like this, so which we can define some other ways. So we can assign this path to this particular value parameter. So let's rerun our application and see. Let's say if there is any difference in the behavior now. So if I go to the Postman and hit send, so as you can see it is working as expected. We are getting the expected logs and we are getting the expected response here. Okay, so if I go inside this post mapping as well, so here you would see this is the value which we have used, and this is the alias for request mapping dot value. So let's go inside this request mapping class. So this is another annotation, request mapping, and inside this you would see this value which is alias for path. So instead of value we can use the path as well. So let's go to the user controller again, and instead of value let's change this to path, and let's rerun the application. Okay, so I'll go to the Postman and hit send. So it is working as expected. So instead of post mapping we can use the request mapping as well. So inside that only the path and values were defined, but currently because we have not defined any method, so it will not work as expected. So we will have to define the method as well. So I will say method is equal to request method dot post. So let's rerun the application now. So let's go to the Postman, and it is we have got the expected response, and here also we have got the expected logs. Now let's say we do not use any method here, then what will happen? Let's remove this and let's rerun the application now. Okay, so if I hit send now, so we have got the expected response here, and here we got the logs as well. Let's change this particular method now because we have not defined anything in this particular request mapping parameter. So let's change this to get and hit send. Okay, so it is working now as well, and here also we have got the logs and we have got the response as well. So it means when we are not defining any method here, so it is working as expected. There is like we have not got any error as such. So this is the behavior if we are not defining any method here. Let's revert this and let's rerun this particular application again. So now we have used the post here. If we want to keep this get and hit this particular API, let's see what is the behavior now. We have seen this in the starting of the video as well, where we are using get here, and but the API is defined as post. So we are getting the 405, which is method not allowed, because this particular path exists but this particular method which we are using here get does not exist. So let's say we change this to get. Now let's see, we are keeping this get and we are defining this request body. Let's see whether it will work or not. Let's rerun this application. Okay, so our application is up. I'll go to the Postman. Let's hit send. Okay, great. So it is working now as well, where we are hitting as the get and we have kept this as get with the request body here, and we got the expected logs as well. So it is working fine in all ways, whether we want to keep this post or get. It's just that we need to use the same HTTP method here as well in the Postman. So although we can use any HTTP method and we can make this work for even the request body where we want to insert some data to our server or to our database, but it is a convention that whenever we are inserting or we want to create some new data on the server or database, then we should use the post API or post HTTP method. And whenever we are fetching some information from the server, then we should use the get API. So this is a convention so that the other developers do not get confused and you follow the good code practices. So that's why you should adhere to this convention itself. But you should know that it will not fail technically, it will work as expected whether you keep this get or post or delete anything. Technically it will not fail, but you should follow the convention. Okay, now let's discuss about this REST controller. So if I go inside this, then you would see a convenience annotation that is itself annotated with controller and response body. So as you can see here, the controller annotation and the response body annotation both are mandatory and both are kept inside this REST controller. So instead of these two annotations, we can use directly this REST controller, which indirectly includes this @controller and @response body. So this @controller annotation is responsible to make this particular class, this particular user controller class, visible and discoverable to the Spring context, so that the Spring can manage it as the Spring Bean, and all the APIs which are defined under this user controller class will become active once the application is up. So this was the use of @controller. Let's see the use for response body. So let's go inside this response body. So here you would see annotation that indicates a method return value should be bound to the web response body. So which means whatever we will be returning into this particular method, so we are returning the string, so that is bound to the API response body itself automatically by the Spring because of this response body annotation. So if we are using this annotation directly or indirectly, so directly means we can use the annotation here also, like this response body, or currently we are using at the class level, so which is indirectly we are using this particular response body annotation. So whether we are using this directly or indirectly on a method, then the Spring serializes this particular return type, which is the string for our case. So the Spring will serialize this return value of that method and it will write that value to the HTTP response body automatically. That is the use of the response body annotation. So in the documentation also you would see that as of version 4.0, this particular annotation, this response body annotation can also be added on the type level, which means the class level. The type means the class, interface or enum. So for our case it is class. So this can be added on the type level, in which case it is inherited and does not need to be added on the method level. So it is not required to explicitly add on the method level, it will be indirectly used from the class level itself. So that's why if I go to the user controller and if I remove this and use the controller and the response body here, and if I rerun the application, then also it will work as expected. So I will go to the Postman and if I hit send, so as you can see we have got the expected response here and we have got the expected logs as well. So we can use like this also, or combinedly we can use the REST controller. So that's all for this video. If you found the video useful and you are learning something from the Spring Boot course videos, then show me some support by liking the video and subscribing the channel. And also let me know in the comments what did you like in the video and what you didn't like. And if you got to learn anything new in the video, let me know in the comments. Also, what did you learn from the video? And regarding the feedback, so you can provide the feedback or any suggestion through our support email ID or through comments itself also. And one last thing, keep learning, keep supporting and subscribe the channel if you want to become a skilled engineer. Stay safe. See you in the next video.